where the trembling breath of the earth rises in clouds of steam, and this silence is broken only by the thunder of falling water, lies a land unlike any other. Yellowstone, a name spoken with reverence, a sanctuary carved by time, guarded by mountains, and ruled by ancient instinct. This is no peaceful refuge. This is the last wild stronghold of the American wilderness, where nature is not softened for human comfort, but remains raw, untamed, and exposed. Deep beneath the surface, a restless supervolcano slumbers, a molten heart that fuels geysers, hot springs, and boiling mud. It is a land forged by cataclysm, sculpted by glaciers, and shaped by the patient hands of erosion and eruption. Every stone, every tree, every river that cuts through these sweeping valleys tells the story of Earth in its most unfiltered form. This is not merely a place, it is a living force, ancient and sovereign. But Yellowstone is not ruled by fire alone. From the jagged spines of the Absaroka Range to the broad, golden valleys of Lamar, this land breathes through its wildlife. Here, the laws of survival are older than history. The bison herd the plains like ancient titans. The gray wolf hunts with silent precision. The grizzly bear roams with unmatched authority. And above them all, the bald eagle soars, a watchful eye over a kingdom governed by strength and instinct. This is a theater where life unfolds without mercy. Every dawn brings new calculations. Will the hunter eat? Or will the prey escape? Will the cold claim the weak? Or will resilience carve a path through the snow? There is no sympathy in the winds that whip across the ridges, no reprieve in the storms that bury valleys in silence. Only the pulse of the wild, steady and merciless, dictating who survives and who vanishes. Yellowstone is beautiful, but it is not gentle. It does not offer safety, only clarity. Here, the boundaries between predator and prey are not abstract, they are written in blood, claw marks, and the desperate flight of those who run for their lives. Every creature is exposed to the elements, to hunger, to threat, and yet they endure not because they are lucky, but because they are forged to endure. In this crucible of life, there are no guarantees, only movement, only adaptation, only the ancient, ruthless rhythm that beats beneath it all. This is Yellowstone, stripped of illusion, brutal, sacred, real, America's last wild paradise, exposed in all its fury and grace. When winter descends upon Yellowstone, it does not arrive with quiet grace, it falls like a shroud, heavy and relentless. The land stiffens beneath its icy grip, and the sky becomes a ceiling of cold steel. Snow sweeps across the valleys like a curtain being drawn over the last light of warmth. For those who live here, there is no hiding from what comes next, only preparation or perishing. By November, the transformation is complete. Meadows that once swayed with wildflowers lie buried beneath feet of snow. Rivers freeze at their edges, their voices muffled. Trees stand silent, cloaked in white, like sentinels bracing against the storm. The temperatures plummet 20 below, 30 below, and colder still. Winds scream through the canyons, piercing even the thickest fir. The world narrows into a single, brutal question. Can you survive until spring? For the animals of Yellowstone, winter is a gauntlet that tests not only strength but strategy. Each species must endure months of hunger, hardship, and exposure. Every calorie becomes a currency, and every decision can mean the difference between life and death. Smaller creatures like the snowshoe hare vanish into the whiteness, their fur now pale and ghost-like camouflaged, but not immune. They flit across frozen fields, pursued by foxes and weasels whose wide, padded feet allow them to skim across the powder like shadows. But it is the large mammals that face the greatest toll. Elk and moose wade through drifts that rise to their flanks, exhausting themselves in search of bark and brittle twigs. Even the mighty bison, armored in muscle and layered fur, must lower their heads and shovel through snow just to find a hidden patch of withered grass. Their breath hangs thick in the frozen air as they trudge across wind-blown plains, conserving energy like a dwindling flame. When storms rage for days without pause, even giants fall in years of severe snowfall. Mortality soars. Moose become trapped in deep banks, their great limbs no match for the sinking pull of the snow. Elk, too weak to flee, collapse in open fields, vulnerable to the circling eyes of predators. And though the bison endure longer than most, even they are not immune. A heavy winter can claim 1 in 5, sometimes more silently and without fanfare, swallowed by the cold. But winter is more than just a season of loss, it is a crucible. It separates the weak from the resilient, the unprepared from the adapted. Nature offers no leniency, yet it rewards ingenuity. Those who bend, endure. Those who waste, perish. In Yellowstone, winter does not just take, it reveals. It strips the landscape of abundance and forces every creature to rely on its deepest instincts. It is the wild, laid bare. Here, under the weight of snow and silence, the predators begin to stir. For them, the season of survival is also a season of opportunity. As prey weakens and food grows scarce, the eyes of wolves grow hungrier. The grizzly dreams in her den, her cubs tucked beside her, waiting for the thaw. The balance of Yellowstone tightens. Each heartbeat echoes louder in the cold. Every footstep becomes a gamble. Winter does not end quickly. It stretches, grinds, lingers, and through it all, Yellowstone endures frozen, fierce, alive. They move like shadows across the snow, massive, deliberate, unyielding. The bison of Yellowstone are not merely animals. They are survivors of another age. With shaggy coats that gather frost and horns that speak of ancient battles, they have roamed these plains since before the first human ever set foot here. In a world carved by ice and fire, the bison stands as a living monument to endurance. Through winter's harshest grip, they march forward, heads low, pushing aside the snow. With powerful sweeps of their necks, beneath their hooves lies the promise of buried grass, bitter and sparse, but enough to sustain them. They do not chase, nor do they flee. Instead, they endure. With thick, two-layered fur and stores of hidden fat, they face the cold head-on, absorbing its punishment without complaint. Their herds move as one, bound by instinct and ancient memory. In these frozen fields, unity offers protection but not certainty. Predators watch from the tree line. The wolves are hungry, and when one bison stumbles, weak or too young to fight, the balance shifts. Yet even then, the bison does not go quietly. With sharp horns and crushing weight, it turns predator into prey, if only for a moment. Each winter, some will fall, but those who survive do so not by chance but by sheer, unbreakable will. In Yellowstone, the bison is more than a symbol. It is strength made flesh, the last titan of the snowbound plains. In the silence of Yellowstone's frozen valleys, the first sound is often a howl, long, low, and haunting. It echoes across the snowfields like a ghost, announcing the presence of the gray wolf. These are not mere hunters, they are tacticians, bonded by blood and strategy, moving with purpose through the wilderness they helped reclaim. Once driven to the brink of extinction, the gray wolf has returned with quiet dominance. Their bodies are built for survival, lean but powerful, cloaked in thick coats of gray, black, or white. Beneath their fur lies something even more formidable: intelligence honed by hardship, discipline shaped by the wild. They do not hunt alone. Each member of the pack plays a role: scouts, flankers, the alpha pair that leads without hesitation. Their targets are chosen with care: the old, the sick, the isolated. A bison calf straying from the herd, an elk weakened by snow. The wolves surround, harass, exhaust, and when the moment is right they strike, fast and without mercy. But the hunt is never guaranteed. A single misstep can mean injury or starvation. The wolf must balance courage with caution, aggression with awareness. This is not mindless savagery, it is method. In Yellowstone, the gray wolf is not the villain nor the hero. It is the necessary edge that keeps the wilderness honest, a predator whose presence restores balance, whose howl reminds all who hear it, this land is still wild. From the shadowed forests and icy rivers of Yellowstone emerges a creature carved by time and shaped by survival: the grizzly bear. Massive, deliberate, and unshakable, the grizzly is not a predator that stalks in silence, but one that commands by presence alone. When it moves, the wilderness listens. Weighing up to 1,000 pounds, racked in fur thick enough to break the cold, the grizzly is built for endurance. In fall, it roams the valleys and slopes, devouring roots, berries, and fish, anything to build the reserves that will carry it through months of stillness. And when the first frost hardens the land, it vanishes into the mountains, into dens carved deep in the earth. There, in a silence older than memory, life pauses. But winter is not sleep, it is preparation, for deep within those dens, new life begins. Cubs, blind and fragile, are born into warmth, pressed against their mother's body. Protected by her patience and strength, they will not know the cold until spring. When the snow melts and the bear awakens, Yellowstone shifts once again. The grizzly reclaims its territory with quiet certainty. It does not waste energy on fear. It is not driven by hunger alone. It moves when it must, strikes when the odds are right, and yields to no one except perhaps the pack. To cross pots with a grizzly is to meet a piece of Yellowstone's original power, relentless, untamed, and utterly real. It does not howl, it does not roar. The cougar moves like wind through stone, silent, swift, and unseen, in Yellowstone's rugged highlands and pine-covered slopes. This elusive predator leaves no trail, only tension in the air. Where other beasts rule with sound and strength, the cougar dominates with stillness. Known also as the mountain lion, this feline is a master of ambush. With muscles coiled beneath tawny fur and eyes tuned to every flicker of motion, it waits, and when it strikes, it does so with explosive grace. One perfect leap, one precise bite, and it vanishes again, swallowed by forest and rock. Unlike the pack-bound wolf or the dominant grizzly, the cougar walks alone. It hunts alone, lives alone, and fights alone. Its territory stretches wide, marked not by presence, but by absence. It avoids confrontation not out of fear, but out of cold, strategic purpose. Even when faced with grizzlies or wolves, the cougar retreats not as defeat, but survival. Though rarely seen by human eyes, its influence is felt across Yellowstone. It keeps deer populations in check, prunes the weak from the herd, and maintains the subtle threads of balance that hold this ecosystem together. The cougar is the wilderness distilled quiet, watchful, and lethal. In a world that often celebrates what is loud and large, this predator remains a whisper. But in Yellowstone, that whisper is enough to command respect. In Yellowstone, the struggle for survival is not just a battle between predator and prey. At times, the fiercest conflicts erupt between predators themselves, apex hunters forced to test one another in contests of strength, strategy, and will. Here, there is no crown, only the fight to endure. When a wolf pack brings down a kill, the victory is never certain. From the tree line, a grizzly may emerge slow, heavy, but utterly fearless. The wolves, swift and many, circle and snap, using numbers and noise to intimidate. But the bear does not flinch. With one swing of its massive paw, it scatters the pack. In 1/3 of these encounters, the bear wins, stealing the hard-earned meal with raw power alone. But the wolf does not forget. It adapts, it waits. The next time, it may fight harder, earlier, smarter. These rivalries are ancient, etched into instincts older than memory. The cougar, though silent and solitary, is not exempt. A carcass dragged into cover becomes a prize, not only for her but for whatever finds it. Wolves or bears will drive her away if they can, and unlike the others, she does not contest. She disappears into the shadows, conserving her strength for another hunt, another day. These apex confrontations do more than decide a single meal. They shape behavior, movement, even territory. They ripple across the ecosystem like tremors in stone. For in Yellowstone, dominance is never fixed. It is challenged every day, every season, by those bold enough to claim it. In the harsh embrace of Yellowstone, the hunted are never far from danger. Moose, elk, and mule deer, majestic symbols of the American wilderness, move through this unforgiving landscape, with vigilance etched into their every step. They are not weak, but they are watched. The moose, towering and solitary, thrives in deep forests and marshy streams. Its long legs carry it through snowbanks that would swallow lesser creatures. A thick double coat shields it from bitter cold, and broad antlers serve as both crown and weapon. Yet when winter deepens and food vanishes beneath ice, even this giant can falter. And when it does, the wolves are ready. Elk move in vast herds, their presence shaping the rhythm of the land. In summer, they graze across sunlit meadows. In winter, they descend to lower elevations, pressed by hunger and snow. Their sheer numbers offer protection, but also draw attention. A sick or aging bull, weakened and alone, becomes the target. Their antlers, once used to battle rivals, may not be enough to stop a pack that smells fatigue. Then there is the mule deer, smaller, lighter, and quicker. With ears like satellite dishes and eyes always scanning, they rely on speed and agility to escape. In deep snow, they leap like shadows, bounding across the terrain in long, desperate arcs. But when cover is thin and wind carries their scent, even they cannot outrun fate forever. Each of these prey animals carries within them the memory of pursuit. Every movement is measured, every decision vital. They are not passive victims, they are survivors shaped by generations of pressure. In Yellowstone, to be prey is not to be weak. It is to live with the knowledge that every moment could be the last and to keep moving anyway. In the raw silence of Yellowstone, where snow falls without apology and predators move like shadows, the wild still rules. It is not polished, not perfect, but it is real, fierce, fragile, and unfiltered. Here, nature does not bend to comfort. It reminds us of who we once were, and what the world once looked like before fences, noise, and walls. Every creature that walks, stalks, or soars through this land tells a deeper story of struggle, of instinct, of balance. The bison, carved by winters older than memory. The wolf, sharp-eyed and strategic, weaving through the snow. The bear, the cougar, the eagle, each playing a role in this vast, unwritten script. Together, they shape an ecosystem that breathes on its own terms, needing nothing from us except our restraint. But wildness cannot survive on beauty alone. It demands respect, it asks for space, and it depends on protection. Because while the predators of Yellowstone know how to endure storms, they cannot fight rising temperatures, shrinking habitats, or disappearing corridors on their own. That burden now falls to us. To expose Yellowstone is to witness its power, but also to acknowledge its vulnerability. It is a mirror to our past and a test of our future. Will we allow this last wild paradise to vanish into myth, or will we stand guard as stewards of something greater than ourselves? Because in the end, Yellowstone is more than a place. It is a promise that wildness still exists, and that with care, it always will.